sort of way where he knows exactly what you're trying to and he's extremely experimental.
Thanks. Shall we say something?
Yes.
Maybe.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you for coming.
Basically, the thing is, Anant and I started as a pop duo, for those of you who don't know, to get a little bit out of our contemporary music world. And we came up with this idea of making the glove, controlling all the electronic sound, and then really, instead of trying to make just audio processes with that, to really have the idea of making a song. So we started that process, and 2 years ago, and this summer in the spring, we started to find out that it wasn't really getting as far as we wanted, and we approached Stein, and specifically Takuro, about coming to Stein to try and develop the process more. Some of the ideas that we had about that was to try and make the glove and the movement connection to the sounding result more apparent. And we eventually were starting to research about developing an instrument for Anant, so that she can start to control things as well. In the end, we decided in this presentation to not get into the controller for Anant because we got very much into the process of writing. So what we thought we'd do for you, we have 3 new sketches that we developed in this 2 weeks of residency time here, and we thought we could play those for you. They're still rough sketches, and we're going to switch them back and forth with a couple of older songs just to get some frame of reference.
And I don't know how exactly we're going to do Q&A, but if you would like to ask something when we run the songs, ask. And I would like to ask you to move back a little bit, because it can get a little loud. That's better when you're far away.
Fight!
stocking stretched around my eyes.
older song. And MIDI foot controller, and we have Fader Fox. Sometimes you can see it, it's a little box. So it's supposed to make our life easier. Sometimes it doesn't.
How does it make your life easier?
Thomas, you want to explain? Since it makes your life easier?
Yeah. It gives you more control of the main problem we have with the glove until now is that
It does those things.
it does those things sometimes when you're not paying attention because you don't load all the right presets.
Maybe you shouldn't have. We discovered
No,
there's
no.
also a serious issue with multitasking. So it's either talking or laughing.
No, it's
okay?
fine.
Sorry.
The thing is that when the glove, it has a tendency to jump around like it just did and start things when I don't actually want them to start, which can be fun, but it can also be really frustrating. So we started to implement other controllers to be able to fine-tune the glove a little bit more and make it more usable as a musical instrument rather than just a expression pedal, basically. And we're getting there. It's been a process, and it's really hard because we took a lot of things this last 2 weeks that we wanted to do, and part of it was implementing a bunch of new tools, and another part of it was changing the way that we work together, trying a different working method, and developing an instrument for not. So out of all those things, we got half of them sort of started going in a direction, but it's still very inconclusive, which is why we have sketches and things to show you.
Yeah, that's why you're here.
So
Yeah.
what does the new unit do? I'm just curious because I've seen you work with the glove a lot, and
This tool, this Fader Fox, has like a bunch of faders and buttons that I can program to use similar to the glove, but then I use them to control parameters that don't necessarily need three-dimensional expression to make it musically relevant. So things like pushing a button on and off with the glove is really problematic, but using a controller to do that is specifically designed to turn those parameters on and off can be very helpful. The foot controller is the same deal. It's kind of like putting an on and off switch between the data from the glove and the program that I'm controlling. So whenever there's something that I don't want the data necessarily to go into the program, then I can just turn it off, and then the glove doesn't enter. But the other parameters of the glove do to another place. So it's like a bunch of complicated railroad tracks.
It's like mapping of data.
Yeah.
Is there a way of explaining the glove just in two minutes or something?
Yeah.
Because
The glove has an infrared camera in it,
Uh-huh.
and 2 infrared cameras, and there's 9 LEDs on here, and it uses triangulation to figure out where my hand is in space. So what that allows me to do is to take all the expression data from where my hand is moving from, let's say, X, Y, and Z, and then has bend sensors on all the fingers.
Yeah.
So I get all those numbers into the computer, and then I created a bunch of these pipelines to transfer the data to different places. So then I use that data to manipulate and control all the sound.
That's good.
Yeah.
I've been doing
I've been doing this.
I've been
Elevator
doing it before.
Triangulation.
yeah.
Is this right? Or we
That's sounds like it helps your life. It definitely won't help my life. This new fader box, whatever you call it.
Fader box.
Darth Vader
Yeah.
box.
What am I playing?
What?
Are you using the glove as a continuous controller? It seemed like you were using it to trigger things more than as a continuous controller.
Yeah, it's half and half. The thing is, the reason that some of the things with the glove that I use as a continuous controller, I think the sounding result isn't strong enough, and I want to get it more involved. And that actually happened because our working process until now had been to write all the tracks, create complete songs, and then try and find a way to perform them. So it's like de-optimizing certain tracks and things that you already programmed. And when you're writing a song electronically like that, like you produce the sound to such a fine detail that you don't actually want to manipulate it and move it around. You like that sound the way it is. So it became very like confined, the room that I had with the glove to do things. So in some of our old songs it was very successful, and some of them it really didn't come out at all. And what we wanted to do in the last few weeks was try and find a way that we could create an environment with the glove in which I can create a sound or several sounds and then play them and improvise with them to try and create material together, rather than us just writing a song and me trying to find with the glove a way to perform those songs. That was kind of the different situation.
Yeah, it sounds, I mean, your music sounds like it's very deskertized, meaning that, you know, there's a part and there's some pre-created sounds, and
Yeah.
bam, this new part comes in.
Yeah,
And bam, this new part comes in. There's not a lot of continuous change
it's true.
in your composition style.
Yeah.
So I mean, are you trying to maybe change the way you compose, or are you trying to work within that style to do something more continuous?
We've been just trying to work together, like absolutely democratically for those 2 weeks of making it. So I think also the next time we're going to play, it's sort of the same thing. You have this one part and this other part kicks in, and then this part. And what we changed is the way we form, discuss, and elasticize the process together. So for us, this is really new. The whole concept of really actually collaborating on that level, and it's been really hardcore. So that's also why things are not really finished, because in that realm we're still figuring it out.
You're still trying to figure out
Yeah.
how to work together.
Yeah, and also when once we start with the glove as a departure point, a lot of things are changing in the composition and just in the way we think about the music. So even if it doesn't sound like a totally new world, for us it feels completely very also exposed, I feel. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely.
I will play another one and we talk some more. For your to-do list.
Oh, yes. This is my second question. Gilad is SMSing because he's trying to get here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and he's way too late, of course, but will he be able to get in? Will we hear the bell ring?
Come on this side.
On the other side.
Utrechtse Dwarsstraat 134.
Utrechtse Dwarsstraat 134? I'm sorry about this, it's just that he's been SMSing me that he wants to come.
It's okay. Okay.
Question. How did the accompaniment for this song work? Like where it started with and where it ended with that thing?
We generated a bunch of random notes to begin with.
Okay.
And created kind of a harmonic melodic environment and generated the melody, and then we went back and reviewed our patch of random notes and tried to make them slightly less random.
And it's kind of, is it predictable the way it goes, or it's not predictable?
It's predictable.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a sequence of 15 and a sequence of 7 that are phasing over each other. Roughly in a harmonic progression, we kind of thought out to a certain number of repetitions, and then we sort of, after that, let it go.
Because it gave kind of the feeling that it was random, which would make it very on the edge, like that both of you wouldn't know what would happen. But in the end, I didn't have that feeling. And I thought it might be nice to experiment a bit with that, because then you would be totally on your.
We've done a bunch of the random stuff as well.
Yeah, I would.
And that's also, I also feel like it's not completely set in some sense. Like the way it develops and everything else that happens, it never feels like, now we are on the one. Or, it's still kind of floaty.
There was one point with the glove that I haven't seen you done before, where you were kind of clenching your fist. So was that triggering something, or was it just
anger?
No, I have several different combinations that I'm using a lot because the 4 bend senses on the fingers are the most useful.
Yeah.
The thumb doesn't really work very well.
Yeah.
And that's generally this one, this one, this one, and this one.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that are the most useful as far as routing.
Okay.
And then in some places I'm using different expression with the fingers themselves. But I don't find it to be so effective most of the time.
No, I thought it was nice of a way of a transition actually, to have like
The
very
fits.
distinct, because most of your gestures are
Yeah.
sort of in this range.
Yeah.
There was one point where you were kind of closer to the screen, and then you had it up like that.
Okay.
So I thought maybe that was just like you were measuring how long you had all these sensors bent or something, and then it did something.
It could. I don't have any at this point. I'm still not using any time things. Yeah, that. It's also on the level of the programming in the glove. We kind of hit the wall as far as the program that we built till now. It goes only so far. So what we would like to do with it, the next stage would be actually to kind of review that program and bring in the newer features that we would like to. But we decided in these 2 weeks that wasn't one of our main goals. We shouldn't mess with it now.
But that needs stronger
Yeah.
gesture and
Yeah.
fast. And you get
And guys, when you perform this stuff, how much can it be alive? Like how much can you interpret, basically? Does it change when
It depends per song a lot.
Yeah.
Like the first song we played through is completely open rubato, and that can go in any tempo we want to, and we can change the chord progressions, we can move around. In the song we played before with the beat that comes in, once I turn the beat on, which didn't fully work the way it's supposed to now, then it runs, and there's nothing I can do to change like tempos or manipulate that. So we're generally playing on this scale of like we want to keep a song form, and when we're writing the songs, we're writing a form, and we're choosing a form, it's like that's the form we want. And then when we perform, we'll perform like that. And we'll make different variations on that form for different shows where we're like, oh yeah, we should add an extra ending here, or we can leave that open and decide when we will go on. And it's been kind of
Just
a,
about what live element do we want to keep in a certain song, and what do we choose to manipulate, and what we choose to make live in that specific song, and that really changes from one song to another. And I think in some songs it's very clear with the glove, and some others it's not that simple to find.
Yeah, but basically that you, on the live situation, you can control timing and
Control timing, control like different filters and different sounds. It
live
depends.
as
really.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Can you, to control the bend sensors, do you have to be in the range of the infrared camera?
yeah,
You do.
yeah.
That's it.
That's because the control, this thing itself, you know, it's just a USB hub. So there's the chip in here, which is programmed with the data computation, is already preset. And actually, I'm using something that was also developed here at Stein to translate that data into numbers that I can use inside Max to port it. And it's kind of a MIDI port that someone built at some point that doesn't use a DLL file. And because it doesn't use a DLL file, there's very little I can do with it's kind of like I got it pre-made coming in the package. And those are some things that I would like to actually take a look at eventually. But
Yeah, because you've got this wire running from the glove, which I would think would be sending some kind of control data.
yeah, it is.
Right?
But it's also, it's designed in such a way that if I set the glove over here, that the data that happens, like putting the glove down or something, doesn't affect what's going on.
But the bend sensors, I mean, you can bend your fingers.
Yeah, of course. I could bend my fingers over here, but it has a gate inside it which says when the glove is out of range, don't send the information through.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Which can be a real problem when you perform in a place with red lights.
Shit.
Happened before.
Yeah.
And play?
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah.
You sing in a deep part?
Mm-hmm.
You sing in a deep part?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's an old one. Older.
Quarantine me in a greenhouse. Let the oxygen flow and observe me.
From the top?
That's nice.
You know, that's a presentation.
That's new.
I liked it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
nice.
I like it
It
too.
was kind of that was the song basically.
Yeah, I was beginning to the end.
The ultra short punk songs which are unpredictable.
Is that cool to do? Should we do something else?
No, I think it's fine. Yeah, something.
Quarantine me in a greenhouse. Let the oxygen flow
Sure.
Have
We just
drinks,
play one
talk.
for you guys.
That's a sketch we made. I think it's the first one we made in STEM, right? 5. There's a name.
No, it's okay. Take your stuff.
So leave your luggage neatly by the door. Don't stay too long. So you'll be coming back for more. Now let's keep playing. Ain't it pitiful? Without your sins, you've nothing to exchange. Now let's keep playing. Gingo or confusion, all the same. I'll bail you out just so you can do it all again. Now let's keep playing.
Let's have a drink, and unless you wanna, it's actually nice and warm here, so if you wanna ask more questions, hello, or say anything.
I have a question. It's something that wasn't clear to me, just out of curiosity. That in this piece, there are bits in which the correlation between the glove and the sounds that you're producing are very clear.
Yeah.
Very obvious. And then it looks like there's, I mean, I don't know which position of the glove triggers the bend, but it looks like there's a lag between your movements and the sound. Is that just because of the, is that true, or is it hard to control? Precise timing, or?
It moves, it depends on which instrument or what thing I'm actually manipulating. Some things have lag and some things don't, depending on like how many different exchange junctions the information is going through before it arrives at that particular controller, and what parameter it is, and how that works either real time or slightly later than real time, so that it doesn't get clipping inside of the sound when it comes out of the speakers. It depends a lot on the situation. I mean, that's actually the thing that's made this the most like mentally difficult for us, is that everything is possible, and then you have to make all of those choices. And we tried, like in the beginning, it was easy for us because we said, okay, we're going to write a song, and then we're just going to figure out a way to control certain parameters of that song and play it live on stage. So we could do like a lot of other people that we saw performing in America. They just kind of hit play and then sing along, and that's possible. But we wanted to do more than that. And after doing that for a while, we thought we should actually just write songs with this instrument rather than use it to just perform songs that we already wrote. And when we started to get into that process, we kind of opened a whole Pandora's box about what's possible. And if you're not careful, you kind of get lost inside of that shuffle.
So I don't know if actually ever you're going to see a real coherent relationship between every hand movement, every sound.
No, definitely not between every sound.
I was actually wondering more about when you were doing those. It looks like it's because you're just triggering a sound, and then it's very easy for us to see the correlation. It also looks like it's very hard to be rhythmical, to be.
Yeah, it's impossible.
Because it looks like it's lagging, where it's very hard to control it precisely.
Well, it's one of the things that actually I'm fighting with this process, with this whole process, is that Taguro said it to us really nice when we first arrived here. He said, you need to take a moment to figure out what are the strengths of this glove, what it can do really well, and what it can't do. And when we sat down and we really tried to look at that, I think in my mind there's still a lot of things that I would like to be able to do with the glove that aren't really actually possible with the setup that we have now. And I think it's hard for me to admit that to myself. Also, it's something that it's always pushing the border of what is possible with the glove, you know? I mean, I could use it to just control the feedback distortion of one sound and say, okay, that's what I'm going to do with the glove. And like the knife, you have, you know, the one drum pad, and they play the cowbell, and that's great. You can do it, it's possible, but we came here to try and do more. And in the process now, like, I think I've never felt so vulnerable performing Consolar material, because everything that we did now for you today is like, I fixed it this afternoon, you know, it's not really ready to be shown to anyone. It's really rough, and it's just a kind of a massive sound that was for us a really big learning experience for how to try and work on this kind of collaborative level with the glove functioning as an instrument.
Yeah, but we have a crisis with the glove. The glove is not good to us, and you know, it's not a leaning instrument. Like it's hard because we constantly define the parameters of what can be done with it.
Does that mean that at some point you will be moving towards more advanced technology?
I don't know. I think the thing is, specifically what's happening in this setting, we're trying to push the border of playback. Like, we don't want to just play playback tracks. We want to manipulate everything. But of course, there's not a lot of other bands in the world where you have one person playing all the instruments and another person just singing. It's something. Yeah, it's something very uneven, and it's something that is just You know, most of the songs that we have, they're between 20 and 35 tracks, like just all the synthesizers, and we go through hours and hours of orchestration to get them to sound good. And then to just take that and put it, it's like, you know, cutting toothpicks with a butcher knife. It's a horrible instrument.
Wouldn't it be a good idea to kind of separate the sequenced tracks with the things you're doing with the glove? So to make a rule, for instance, then that Anat controls all the sequence tracks, and you only control things with the glove which are non-sequenced.
Yeah.
Then, you know, I'm just thinking about a kind of logical separation, which would make it visually more, how do you say, like more understandable for an audience. That it might be something you want to achieve.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that because it seems like in all the Q&As and all the questions that are asked are always somehow related to how we perceive
the cloud.
Yeah. So, I mean, it seems that there's kind of a universal need to really see the correlation and really understand that there's a direct correlation and it's not always visible. And I'm wondering if you want that to be there or if you don't.
I think that we kind of move, you know, when we start this last song we played, you know, when we have the 3 notes, and we wanted to have it as clear as possible, and on one hand. On the other hand, this is the beauty of, you know, electronics. There's something that's really mysterious going on there. I just watched this Bjork clip from, like, I think after Post, she did this live show with a lot of electronics, and they have now they have those really cool controls that you can see what they do and the table stuff. But back then, it's just a bunch of knobs, and she has a DJ who sits like this and like does this, and this enormous sound comes out, and people love it and they don't care, you know, they don't care. I think it's because we have this dialogue, and this is not a club, you know, and we can say, so what does the glove do? But I think there's something about not knowing what the glove does that is actually a turn on, you know,
When you work the glove out though, you kind of draw attention to it.
Yeah.
You have this guy with the DJ earpiece like this. He is about as unconspicuous as you can be.
Yeah.
If you're going to come out with this
Device.
wild device, people are going to be like, well, what the heck is going on? It's a natural question to ask.
Yeah.
Whereas when most people are used to the idea of a DJ sitting blindly behind a booth and you know, they're just doing their thing. You don't ask questions about it.
Good point.
I mean, I think in a way they're both true. I mean,
But it's also like from the experience of performing with this, like we always have the 4 guys who come up to the show to Thomas and ask, so what's the glove? Like it's always the 4 guys. They always look like him.
But in all fairness, I think that the fact that the 4 guys are saying that means that that the question is alive and well. And
it's in the air, of course.
But I think it's definitely something that we decided. We don't want to give a lesson in our concerts about what a glove is doing and how that connects to the sound.
And for me, from my perception, I'm not an electronic musician. Some sides of me want to, but no, I'm not. I don't know about this stuff, and I come as a layman. I mean, I'm listening as a layman in a way, and I do find it exciting that parts I don't understand, but it helps that there are moments at which I do.
Yeah.
And then I do experience that thing that you're talking about, that there's all this weirdness going on there and stuff is happening and I have no idea what it is, and it does add to the excitement. But I need some kind of anchor point now and then to feel that it's not just someone standing in the corner going like that, and it's actually a playback.
And I think also for us it was a departure point when we came here to try and make sound things a bit more cohesive for the viewers, listeners. And I think in some parts we managed, some other parts. It was really rough 2 weeks. We've been working really, really hard and really drowned into our own world. And so this is really very strange for us.
Yeah.
And we're really happy we did it. And we're really happy that you're here. But it's really like the move from the other studio to here, and then it's strange. Like having faces in front of you when you do this. It's really a whole different world. So
You ever talk about the, let's say, the expressive or choreographic aspect of the gestures? That's something that's so much clearer with a normal instrument because people can tell the difference between the kind of nuts and bolts mechanical gestures and then the extra stuff you can put on top of it.
Exactly.
And that's problematic, of course, for an instrument because people don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there are those two dimensions, the expressive or choreographic dimension. You could, for example, relate the gestures to the material some way, to a song or something. So you could become.
Well, in the songs that we've been performing for a while, it's becoming much clearer because I think this element for me is very strong. Like in some songs I'm choosing this type of movement, in some songs I'm choosing that type of movement, and I'm trying to, per song, really make that kind of a correlation between the movement, because that's the ultimate reason we chose the glove. Because I could also do the whole thing with just this fader fox and the foot MIDI pedal control and sit behind, kind of stand behind the table and do that. But it lacks an expressivity.
Festivity.
Specificity. You ever seen, there's another song person who has a glove, Letitia Sonoma. You ever seen her perform or seen the videos?
No, I never got to see her perform. I've been in contact with
She
her.
really deals with this thing very well. There's a sense in which there's a necessity, like a bass player, you have to do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then on the other hand, it's not, because it's glove, and it's like completely electronic music, and she's telling stories while she does this, so there's
Okay.
kind of narrative as well as a gestural dimension. But somehow she's figured some way to solve that. For her, the situation's different. She's not doing rhythmical music.
Yeah.
But you should look at those videos just
Yeah.
because it's kind of remarkable, the fact that she can do it.
Cool. I think she has most of her stuff online. She has a website with everything,
Great.
including her max patches. She's very sharing.
Great. Cool.
And if you can't find it, feel free to get in touch with either me or Joe, and we can get you in touch.
Yeah, we really love that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, you guys have to probably sit on this for a bit to get out of the space. I think it's a really great point that what you raised is that all the questions go to the glove.
Yeah.
But when I listen to the music, it's not the glove that's driving the music.
Yeah.
It's your singing, it's the songwriting. And so there's some kind of bottleneck there with the glove. And when I was watching it, I kept thinking, would it solve the problem if we made a better glove for you? That's not so confined. Because, and also, like when you guys first came here, you were thinking about building a instrument for Anat.
Yeah.
But when you look at the performance, you're the real free one moving around.
Yeah.
And you have no restriction, and the glove is really confining you. And I could see the box.
Yeah.
I can see that 3D. Yeah. And so it's really, the whole weight of your body is your hand is here, and then the rest of your body is really trying to control within this box. So I think you guys really have to think of, well, this time you actually use the glove to make new music, and whether it's, is that worth, all
The
the
tears.
Yeah, and does that bring new creativity to you? And then also just kind of be thinking about, what kind of songs you want to write and what kind of performance you can get. I do like the material. Because like I said last time, there's a lot of space in between, and that's kind of fun to watch as well. To have something that's not always just like
on this grid.
But to see this kind of interaction is nice.
I think we'd like to play on that border, and it's for us really about that borders on every parameter we talked about, like the vagueness or clarity of the glove and the moving between really time-structured music and completely rubato sections, and trying to find like something between this pop and avant-garde world, and trying to it's always about trying to find that space in between where actually you can't really balance. People either want to push you one way or another, and I think this particular 2 weeks has really for us been about trying, like you said, to make music together in this way, which was a whole nother direction that until now we just hadn't explored at all. And it's nice to know that it's there and that we can also use that method. And I think after these 2 weeks, it will be more possible for us to do this more often in the future.
Are you guys planning to play new songs for the gig that you have next in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
We have in 1
We
week.
have in 1 week we're playing with Namstem is here with the trio 90-90, and that's we're probably going to play
Some new stuff.
with them, but they're live musicians, so it'll be a whole different thing.
Okay.
And on the 8th of January, I think we will play something.
Yeah, we'll play some new stuff and play a lot of songs and release a CD.
Yay.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, like, if you talk about how you were working on composing with the glove, or using the glove as a means to write music. And when I compare the new material to what I've heard from you in concerts, it seems like if this is that is the space that you're moving between pop music and avant-garde, you've definitely moved a lot towards avant-garde and away from pop.
Yeah.
Whereas the concerts that I've seen have been more danceable, feel more organic, and maybe it has to do with the fact that it's sketches, but it seems like the fact that you're composing this way changes as quite a influence on the way your music comes out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to say that Thomas, when you're performing, it feels like you're trying to do like an architectural drawing or something like that. Like you're so trying to be so precise, and you're so in this box that you've kind of disconnected from the music a little bit almost.
Yeah, that's it's been one of the huge problems in. I mean, and that is basically writing most of the songs, you know, because I'm so busy with this box and this electronics and trying to connect it to the songs that in the time that we have been able to spend on Comfortable Art, I'm doing very little actually songwriting, which is on one hand been very frustrating, but it's also been, it's this whole world that I can just dive into and open my Max Patch and just start, what if I connect it this way? And I can do that for days. And then Anat comes around, she says, you haven't written anything, you've just been writing numbers in a Max Pad, what are you doing?
That's good.
I mean, it's been very strange on that level, because I'm dealing with this instrument and building it and trying to refine it and trying to define which parameters it's going to control. I have to take a step away from the music and deal very practically with practical solutions. And it's been really I've become better, I think, now in being able to step back and forth from one to the other. I don't know, have I?
Yeah, I think so. But it's an issue.
Did you ever videotape yourself experimenting with things?
Yes.
Videotape myself experimenting.
Yeah, like, just put a camera there.
Yikes.
You make a new thing.
Did you ever?
Then you watch it back.
I'm just curious.
Yeah. Before our very first concert, we started videotaping a rehearsal, and we've been doing that periodically throughout the process. More to define, like what I was saying about per song. You know, you have a ballad, so you don't want a lot of these kind of movements in the middle of a ballad. So you're like trying to find what looks like it makes sense to the music, rather than what is the most simple to control. And of course, by doing that, I've made my life a living hell, and now I have a book because every single song is different parameters, it's different combinations of gates and manipulations. So it became really like, you know, I'm running like 40 control numbers on every song, and they're all different, they're all going to different places, and that's like part of the organic process. Yeah, you find out like, oh, this is actually better. And now my program is becoming a lot better. Like now I look back at the last 4 songs that I programmed, and I can really see some things emerging. Like half a year ago, I could not have said this is the most common combinations that I use when I'm playing the glove. And now I know that. And now I don't bother trying to think of, maybe if I do like halfway with my, no, don't even try. It's like, it became clear.
So, if I can be the devil's advocate, it sort of sounds like using the glove as a means to write music doesn't necessarily help the music or make the music any better.
Yeah.
And the question is,
you know, when you first
learn
to play guitar and you can only play G, C, and D, and then you find yourself writing the same fucking song over and over, and you get totally tired of that. You just got to get better at playing guitar, and then you start to find a lot of possibilities there.
Well, it depends. Either that, or you're playing on a guitar with one string, and you'll never be, you know. That's my question.
Yeah.
There is that because I've made a lot of instruments, and it sometimes takes a year to get distance on the code aspect. So you get all that stuff and just concentrate with the fact that there is conflict, because there are.
Yeah.
Thinking like a coder is not thinking like a composer. Guaranteed not.
And thank God for that.
Yeah.
No, I think we can take time with the glove, and it could be possible to, you know,